You're watching News 24 Live. I'm Jerusha Sukhthirabrath.
And I'm Notolo Mafu, and you're watching Sex, Religion, Politics.
What we always love to talk about.
It's the best,
Let's
right?
not even kid ourselves. Our mothers would be horrified, but come on.
It's a good time. It's always a good time here.
So let's kick it off with sex. And unfortunately, it's not a particularly sexy story we're talking about.
It's not at all. It's rather particular. So we heard that David Cameron was exposed for having, apparently,
During varsity
days. Let's make that clear. He, through an initiation process, put his penis in a dead pig's mouth.
That's not right.
That's not right. That's rather awkward. My first question is, where did you get the pig's head? What would make you to think to put those two things together?
Well, it turns out he was part of, this can only ever happen in the UK, Oxford Drinking Gentlemen's Club. 12 first years, I assume, are part of this elite club where they hype each other up and try and do all sorts of different things. And apparently this particular drinking club has a thing about pigs' heads. So they either use pigs' heads as candle stands or
phallic holders or devices.
That's very politically correct. So let's ask you this. As the leader of the United Kingdom, should what he did at university come back to bite him?
I mean, look, I'm very...
That was such a poor turn of phrase. But let's just move on from that.
I tried, literally, I just went over
Thank
it.
Thank you for that.
Look, I do think it's not entirely unfair, because I mean, you don't know that you're going to be like in this career path. But we can't dismiss it, I think to completely kill his political career, I think would be unfair. I mean, people grow. Like, if people held me accountable for some of the things I did when I was 12, that would be horrible.
I think if somebody held anyone accountable to what they did at university, everyone would be in trouble.
It's just not fair. But I mean, I think there's something really important to take from these like beer drinking clubs. These really elite clubs in these universities. They do a lot of strange things that like really come back. And I've seen it in my own university. People are crazy drunk, do some really compromising things, and it really does come back to hurt you. And what if you're not sitting in a place of privilege and your company finds out and it affects your career?
Moral of the story, and we sound like our mothers, just be careful what you do at varsity. You never know if you're going to be the next prime minister.
Keep it clean, keep it halal.
Let's move on to religion. Sure. And we know that Pope Francis recently visited Havana. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, Pope Francis has been going on a tour, and he landed in Cuba, and he's been just doing wonderful visits. And of course, there are like some ideologies that are in conflict with the Catholic religion. So, I mean, he's been trying to be really PC, and
he has been, hasn't he?
He's been really PC, but kind of speaking to his followers that like you should really support people and not ideologies, which I think is a bit of a jab.
Right. He totally met with Fidel Castro, the former leader of Cuba, and of course said the same thing, that be careful of ideology, especially because Cuba is now moving into closer ties with the US.
Yes.
I think it's going to be a very interesting time. But I want to talk about Pope Francis for a bit.
Yeah.
I'm a fan, and I think that he is doing a lot to dispel that perception about the Catholic Church, that it is sort of not in touch with its followers. Pope Francis goes to poor places where there are disenfranchised people, interacts with them in a wonderful way.
And I think that's really, important, because I think we're sitting at a time now where religion is getting, and particular groups and religious groups are getting stigmatized for history, like things that have happened before. So I really find it interesting that someone who's older and has kind of gone through different rhythms of like really strict religious control and like, more nebulous things, that he's really trying to dispel that and interact with people in a far more honest and nuanced way, I think. Yeah.
Pope Frank for the win.
I like him.
So, politics. You and I spent last night at Grand West, but it wasn't as fun as those who were inside at the Pharrell concert. We were outside at the BDS protest. So, what did you think about what was happening?
I mean, look, I've been aware of, you know, the BDS campaign, particularly focused at Woolworths. I really didn't know that they were against the concert in such a big way, but I do understand their position and, you know, their pro-Palestine position. Yesterday was beautiful to watch. You know, there was a very diverse group of people. I don't think they reached the numbers that they assumed they would.
Not even nearly. You know, initially they were allowed to have a protest of about 40,000 people. Just before the protest, they said they're expecting 16. Now, there have been different reports on how many people were there. Some say 500. Having been there, I think I would be more comfortable to say closer to 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Not the 16,000.
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, there were different rhythms of it. I don't know if you noticed that in the beginning, you know, I could tell people are coming from work, and then there really was a big rally. But I also do think that there were different agendas there. You know, some people came to push their own thing. Like, you know, during interviews, people would be putting up signs about education. And I'm just like, you know, what are we doing here? So I think I admire the push to really stand for something. But I think it is a bit of it. Yesterday was a bit muffled, I think, in the support.
Interestingly, just released today an article about how Woolworths has turned out tops when it comes to retailers in the country. Woolworths certainly arguing that they're not being affected by the protest, but we spoke to Mohammed Desai, who's one of the leaders of the BDS movement, who says that they're seeing serious financial, I suppose, consequences for Woolworths with the protest. Of course, Woolworths and a lot of the polling that's been done says otherwise, so we'll have to keep an eye on it. Mohammed Desai saying they're not going to back down.
Absolutely.
I wonder what Pharrell thought about all of it.
You know what I mean? And I was thinking, is it just like this in Cape Town? Because I know there's a huge BDS support here. And I was wondering, you know, in the Joburg concert, is there going to be the same kind of backlash? But it must have been an awkward welcome to the mother city, you know, to have people really, really upset at your presence in the country.
Yeah, well, those of us who weren't standing outside at the protest, or rather those of South Africa who were inside, said that it was really cool. A lot of my friends who were there said he was great. He actually did a little mini set of some of the songs that he's produced that are not necessarily his to perform, which I would have loved to see.
I love him. I can't help it.
We'll leave it there.
Yeah.
So let us know what you think by tweeting us at News24, and we'll see you again soon to chat sex, religion and politics.